This is part 3 of modeling the bird feeder. It's time to do the textures. And there's lots of different ways to do this, but what I'm going to do is add some wood texture to this and a little bit of metal and sort of a plasticky material to this. Okay, so what I'll do first, I think, is I'm going to come around and let's see. Let's come over to the Materials tab here. And I'm going to click on New. And I double click there and I'm going to call this Metal. And the metal texture is going to go on the bolts, of course. This has no material on it so far, so let's go around and select there. That's going to be metal. That's going to be metal. Metal. This grate in there is going to be metal. I want these pieces to be metal. Keeping in mind some of this stuff is mirrored, so it makes it a little easier. And those pieces are going to be metal as well. Okay, so to do the metal, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here. I'm going to Look Dev. And I'm going to change the base color down a little bit. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to slide metallic all the way up. And I think I'm probably going to leave it just like that to make it simple. So all of those things are now metal. Now this stuff, I'm going to create a new material. I'm going to call this plastic. I'm going to make it dark. Something like that, and I'm going to come to the roughness and drop this down quite a bit so it looks a little shiny. Let's select that and let's make that plastic as well, and let's select this, make it plastic, and somewhere in there. So we got this black plastic material and we've got this metal. Okay, cool. Now what's left is to do the glass and all of this stuff we're going to do in wood. Now, to do the wood, we're going to use image textures from the internet. So what you do is you go to Google and you type in wood texture, or you go to some actual texture websites, something like cgtextures.com, and just find some wood images that you like and save them on your computer. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to UV unwrap these in order for the textures to go on properly. With the sides selected, I'm going to create a new material, and I'm going to call this wood side. I'm going to select the top and create a new material. I'm going to call this wood top. And then I'm going to select all of, well, I'm going to do them one at a time. I'm going to delete the base material. And I'm going to call this wood, I don't know, support. So those two are going to have it. And these two would support. And underneath here, that is going to have wood support as well. So materials are assigned, but we don't have any yet. Okay, so let's say we click on the sides. Now let's do these ones first. Okay, so like I said, to do the materials, we're going to have to UV unwrap this. So let's come to the UV editing tab, click that, and that'll open another window on the side. And we're over here. I'm going to switch this. I'm just rolling my mouse over here to Look Dev, and I am going to select these pieces. Let's press the slash key so we just focus on those. Okay, what I'll do now is I'm going to come in here into edit mode, and it's already created a UV map for these when I made these, but I want to do it a little bit differently. And so what I'll do is I'm going to deselect, I think, let's see, deselect those and those, and the rest is selected. I'm going to go unwrap. We could try it this way. It's a little unstraight. Let's try one more thing. Let's select it all and go Smart UV Project. Island margin 0.03. Let's try that. I may go with that. That has done both of them. Okay. Let's come over here. Let's go in, select it all. Let's try Smart UV Project. It keeps the island margin there as well. And for these, just unwrap is probably fine. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, let's give this a try and see how well it works. Now we come over to the shading tab, and I'm gonna hover over here, right click, join areas, and when I see the arrows, I'm gonna click this way just to get rid of that stuff. Okay. Now, I am on wood support here. Okay. And I am in look dev. And now what we need to do is get our wood texture in there. So with the principled BSDF selected, and as long as Node Wrangler is enabled, and we talked about that in a previous video, just under Edit, Preferences, Node Wrangler. I think I actually did Loop Tool, so I'll do Preferences, under Add-ons, Node Wrangler. Okay, it comes with Blender, so just make sure that's enabled. With the principled BSDF, you can go Control T, G, just to move those out of the way. And that will put down a texture coordinate node, a mapping node, and an image texture node. This will be set because we UV unwrap these from UV in. It's all connected properly, but we don't have a texture in here. So I'm going to click open and search for a wood texture that I like. Alright, so here are the wood textures that I have. I don't want one with the lines in it. I just want one something like this. Alright, with some grain. Open. And already it's put on the wood texture. Okay. Now, I can come back here, select this piece. Let's say I don't like that black line there. I'm going to come back to UV editing. Okay, and I look at this, I say I don't like the black line. Select it, and let's see, maybe it's just this face that I don't like it with, so I can select in face selection. I'm holding down Shift, just that stuff. You can see the black line in there. I'm going to hit A over here to make sure it's selected, and GX, and I can move it, and you can see it move over here. So I've moved that a little bit. It'll be the same on both sides. I'm not sure I'm crazy about that light color, but that's just, you know, let's say I move it over here. Let's try that. Okay, say I'm happy with that. Let's say I look at this one and I say I don't like the wood color there, that black line there. GX, let's move it over a little bit. And, you know, you want some imperfections. Not really going to see the inside very well. And so that's that. Okay, I'm going to come back to shading. Okay, here it is. Now, this wood doesn't have any bump to it. It's just a flat texture, and that's fine for what I want to do here. If you really wanted to, you could sort of cheat. I need to press Control Spacebar to maximize that. Down here where it says normal, we could do something where we do a little bit of cheating. And what we'll do is go Shift A, vector bump, and put that, let's box select these, G, drag them out a little bit. This normal is going to connect to there. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag this image and we're going to put it into the height. But I'm also going to add converter color ramp just to turn this image into black and white. Now that strength is going to be pretty high, but let's have a look at that. Okay, you start to see this effect. Now, if I take this at 0.03, let's say, I don't know how well we can see that, 0.05 maybe. That's probably going to be too much, but let's go ahead and leave it like that for now. Okay, let's do the top. Okay, we're going to go back to UV editing, slash key, bring everything back. Let's make sure we save. Let's just focus on the top, press the slash key, and go in. And what I want to do here is I want to deselect in edge selection. Where can you see that? Well, I'm in edge selection number 2. I'm going to Shift Alt and click the edges around here. Let me try it this way. So I've got all the edge there going around. I'm going to do the same here. And around here. And the inside. Okay, I've selected all the outer edges there. With those edges selected, I'm going to Control E and click on Mark Seam. Alright, and that will sort of determine where this is cut. With the seams marked right where I did them, I'm going to press A now, U, unwrap. Let's zoom in here. And I have UV unwrap this, and because this is mirrored, also that. Okay, so that's UV unwrapped. Let's go over the shading tab. With the roof selected and the wood top material, I'm going to do the same kind of thing. Click on the principal BSDF, Control T, G to drag it out, UV into there. Okay, let's choose the same image so I can click here. I can get my wood, and now I can go back to the UV image editor and decide what I want to do. Let's select that face. Let's have a look at this. See, it's right on the black line. Press A here, GX. Let's try just moving that and leaving everything else the same. Okay, and I have that. Let's go back into the shading tab. And what I want to do for the roof is I want to make it a little darker, a different color wood. We can also do the same thing with the bump. Shift A, vector bump. This is going to connect here. I'll put in converter, color ramp, color into height, and then just drag this out. Drag this color into here. And we get some sort of fake bump, if you like that effect. 0.03 maybe. Okay, looks all right. And then the other thing I'll do to change the color of this slightly is I'll go Shift A, color RGB curve, and I'll just drop it on there. And then I'm just going to grab here, I just clicked, and I'm going to pull and sort of darken it like that. You can play around with that. So I want to do something like that. Let's go back to layout and have a look at what we've got so far. All right, so far so good. Let's do the sides. UV editing, slash key to bring everything else back. Let's just focus on those. I'm gonna come in here and let's just zoom in on this. It's already made a UV for this, but I'm gonna try Smart UV Project. It keeps the same margin from before. Let's try that. That might be just fine for what we want to do. So let's see. Let's go over to shading. Click on the Principal BSDF. I'm on wood side. Control T. G to drag those over there. I can select the same wood. Looks okay, but I don't like the black line. So let's go back to UV editing. And I'm just going to select the faces that are affected by that, which is those ones there. Come over here, I can see them there. So A to select it, G, just drag it somewhere else. And everything else I think looks okay. I'm not too worried about inside here because the bolts will cover that. Let's go back to layout. And that's what we have so far. Let's make sure we save it. Now, let me just check one thing. I didn't do the bump thing. So, all right, and the last thing we need to do is the glass. Let's create a new material and call it glass. And then there are many different ways to do glass. Now I should say that I'm going to be rendering this in cycles instead of Eevee, and that will potentially affect what you do. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shift S. Shader, mix shader. So if you select a shader and go Shift S, you can change it to another one, mix shader. I'm going to duplicate that shader, drag that into here, and I'm going to Shift A, shader, transparent, Shift A, shader, glossy. I'm going to change the roughness to about 0.2. Plug that into the bottom here. I think I'll make this sharp. Plug the transparent into there. Okay, so far so good. Shift A, shader, glass. And those are okay. Drag that into here. And I'll do an input for now as well. And we'll drag that into the top. Let's change these to about 1.5. And I don't know that that'll really make much difference for what we're doing. Okay, now let's come back over here. The render engine I'm going to use is Cycles, and I'm going to switch this to GPU compute based on your video card, whether or not you can do that. I'll put my render at about 150 for now. And I will put on denoising. Another thing we're going to want to do is add some light. I'm going to click on the World tab here, and under Color I'm going to click here and choose Environment Texture. And I'm going to load in an HDR image, an HDRI image. Click Open, HDR. Now you just find these on the internet as well. These are called HDRIs, and they are images that will provide sort of a background image and light to your scene. You can go to HDRI Haven to find these, or wherever. And I'm going to choose something like this, like an outdoor scene. You can change the strength of this here, which I sometimes do, but for now, let's go up here and use Scene Lights and Scene World. And now you can see the HDR. I can turn around and you can see it. It sort of looks like a overcast backyard. Okay, now I can't see through my glass yet. So I'm going to select my glass, come down to the materials. Under viewport display, the blend mode, I'm going to change from opaque to alpha blend. And hopefully I will be able to see through it. You can see through a little bit there. Okay. Save. I'm going to bring in another light. I'm going to bring in the sun. And I'm going to position it somewhere that I might want it. I'm going to change the strength to, I'll try 3, and I'll change the color to sort of a yellowish color like that. Save that. Now I need a camera, so Shift A, camera, and with it still selected, I'm going to press Control Alt 0 to look through from the position I was in. And before I move, I'm going to press N. Under View, I'm going to choose Lock Camera to View, N to close that. And then I'm going to position this. I think I'll change the size of this. I'll come back up to my render stuff, or the second one here. And I'm going to make this, let's try 1200 for that. And 1000 for that. Okay, so far so good. I'll reduce this to 80% for the moment. And let's just do a test render. Press F12. And here is the first render of my birdhouse. I'm gonna look at this from a few different angles, I think. And let's increase this to 5. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the birdhouse part itself and not the way you hang it. All right, there's another view. I can see my glass and all of my wood and my metal. A couple of things. I think I'm going to change the color of this, make it a little darker. And keep in mind that I'm not using very high samples here. You could up this. You really don't have to go too far. You probably don't have to go above 250 or 300, I wouldn't think. Let's come back to here and shading. And I am going to just focus on that. I'm just going to drag it down and just play with the color until I like it. And I kind of like that. Up to you. You can also, on all of these woods, if you want them a little bit shinier, you could, you know, adjust the roughness. So let's say I put 0.35 on all of these pieces of wood. That might be too shiny for you, but let's try that. And what about for the glass? What if we were to make this 0.1? How would that affect? Let's just press F12. All right, I'm not sure that I like this, and probably I would not put that much sort of shininess on here, but you can see that the glass is dulled down a little bit, and that can introduce more noise, so you might need more samples if you start doing that. But chances are I would leave this as 0 for that. And really for stuff like this, the roughness here, I would probably put it back, and I might even go to 0.6 or something like that. All right, so I'll just bring these back, and we can do a final render on that kind of stuff. Let's see what happened here with those ones. 0.5. These ones are not really visible anyhow. Okay, let's go back to layout now. Let's try one more thing, and that will be to use a different HDR, because that can really change things. For example, this one here. Let's make sure we're on scene world and scene lights. Really has a different amount of light. And so you can change this here, let's say go 0.6, sort of golden hour here. Let's try a render from there. That HDR has provided quite a bit more light, and some of this may be blown out, or maybe you like that effect. But that's basically how I would go about doing this. I just want to show you one more thing here. I'll come under here, under the first tab and under film, and I'll make this transparent, and that can get rid of the background, and we'll check that in a second. I just want to come back over to here, and I'm going to increase the bump to 0.3 actually. No, let's try 0.1 for that top, and I'm going to increase the roughness to 0.7 maybe. And just back off on this stuff here a little bit. Try something a little bit different. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, I'm just going to render from that exact place as well. Alright, so as you can see, the background is now transparent. I still have the reflection of the HDRI in the glass here, but this is what we can get with this simple technique. So that's going to be it for the bird feeder videos. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.